You tell yourself you don't care. The conversation ends, you walk away, you even act normal. But later, when everything is quiet, it starts replaying the exact sentence you said, the way their face changed for half a second, the pause before they replied. You replay it in the shower, in the car, in bed at 1 a.m. You adjust your wording in your head. You imagine better responses, smarter ones, softer ones. You win the argument. You lose the argument. You apologize. You defend yourself over and over. It looks like overthinking. It feels like self-criticism. But what if it's actually protection? Why does your mind refuse to let it go? Before we go deeper, let's remove something heavy. You are not broken for doing this. Your brain is not malfunctioning, and you are definitely not the only one who replays conversations like unfinished scenes. This behavior makes psychological sense. It's not random. It's not weakness. It's your nervous system trying to keep you safe. When you replay a conversation, you're not just thinking, you're scanning. You're reviewing social data, because connection matters. And somewhere along the way, your system learned that connection can also mean risk. Think about when this usually happens. It's rarely after a perfect interaction. It's after something slightly off, a tone you couldn't decode, a joke that didn't land, a text that hasn't been answered yet. You leave and your body feels unsettled, not panicked, just slightly activated. That unsettled feeling is your nervous system asking a quiet question. Are we still safe here? And your mind responds by replaying the scene. Attachment quietly lives here. Attachment isn't about being clingy, it's about how your system learned to interpret closeness. If connection once felt unpredictable or conditional, your brain adapted. It became vigilant. It started looking for micro signals. Did they mean that? Were they annoyed? Did I say too much? Replaying conversations becomes a way to search for reassurance you didn't fully feel in the moment. Your system doesn't like uncertainty. Social uncertainty is one of the most uncomfortable forms there is. Maybe you grew up having to read the room. Maybe moods shifted quickly, so you got good at decoding tone and expression. Years later, that skill is still active. After a conversation, your brain opens the file and reviews the footage, not because you're insecure, but because paying attention once prevented pain. Replaying is adaptation, and adaptation always begins as intelligence. There's another layer. Your brain craves predictability. When something feels unresolved, it keeps trying to close the loop. If an interaction ends without clarity, your mind keeps running simulations. What if I had said this? What happens next? This is your brain trying to regain control. Social dynamics are unpredictable, and unpredictability feels vulnerable. You're not just replaying words, you're forecasting outcomes. You're asking if something shifted. Sometimes it turns into self-criticism. You cringe at your own memory. You think, why did I say that? But shame is often a late arrival. The original function wasn't punishment, it was protection. Shame evolved to prevent rejection. If I criticize myself first, maybe I can fix it before anyone else notices. Underneath that harshness is fear of disconnection. Replaying conversations can also be emotional processing. In the moment, you might not fully feel what's happening. Later, when you're alone, your body slows down enough to process. Processing doesn't always look calm. It looks like replaying, like pausing and rewinding, like searching for the emotion you missed. Some people only realize they felt hurt hours later. The replay is your mind saying, now we can feel this safely. But here's the part nobody talks about. Sometimes replaying isn't just about fear, it's about identity. If you see yourself as thoughtful or competent, any interaction that threatens that identity feels destabilizing. One awkward sentence can feel huge because it clashes with who you believe you are. Your brain revisits it to restore coherence. I'm not careless, that's not me. Identity protection is subtle but powerful. Sometimes you're not obsessing over their reaction, you're protecting your internal narrative. Modern life adds another layer. Meetings, messages, notifications. Your brain absorbs endless social cues. When the day ends, your mind sifts through them. Replaying becomes cognitive sorting. The problem is, social cues are rarely clear. Ambiguity keeps the loop alive. The brain also remembers pain more vividly than comfort. If you've been embarrassed or misunderstood before, your system stores that memory carefully. When a current interaction resembles that old emotional texture, your brain flags it. Review this. You may not consciously connect it to the past, but your nervous system does. Replaying becomes predictive. It tries to prevent history from repeating itself. There's something deeply human underneath all of this. You care. You care how you're perceived. You care about impact. You care about belonging. People who replay conversations are often highly attuned. They imagine how their words landed. That sensitivity can turn inward. Was I too much? Was I not enough? It looks like insecurity, but it often starts as empathy. Sensitivity is not a flaw. It's a high-resolution nervous system. Notice how this shifts across life. At 16, one comment can loop for days. Belonging feels urgent. At 25, it might revolve around work. Did I sound capable? At 40, it becomes more reflective. Did I speak honestly? The behavior evolves, but the core remains the same, a desire for alignment, for safety, for connection. When you replay conversations, you're usually alone. In that silence, your internal voice fills the space. If that voice learned to be harsh, the replay feels painful. If it learned to be analytical, it feels strategic. Either way, it's familiar, and familiarity feels safe even when uncomfortable. Replaying can act like a mental anchor. Instead of floating in vague anxiety, you attach to a specific scene. It narrows the focus. It creates structure. In a strange way, it soothes. Sometimes you replay what you didn't say, the boundary you swallowed, the truth you minimized. Your mind revisits the moment because something in you felt unfinished, not socially, emotionally. The replay becomes rehearsal for authenticity. There's also avoidance. Thinking can feel safer than feeling. You analyze wording instead of admitting you felt hurt. You dissect tone instead of naming rejection. Replaying becomes a buffer, a way to approach intensity slowly. And underneath everything is meaning-making. Humans assign meaning to moments. What did that mean? What does this say about me? Your mind refuses to let interactions pass without interpretation. That's not dysfunction, that's consciousness. The issue isn't that you replay, it's the weight each replay carries. If every interaction feels like a referendum on your worth, the loops become heavy. But the behavior itself is deeply human. It shows you're invested in connection. You are not numb. You are engaged. Maybe no one told you that your brain is trying to love you in these moments. Clumsily, sometimes, but sincerely. It's trying to anticipate pain. It's trying to refine your social instincts. It's trying to keep you included. The part of you that replays conversations is the part that cares about impact. It wants harmony. It wants understanding. It wants to belong without breaking something. So when the scene starts playing again tonight, maybe you can notice something different underneath it. Not failure, not brokenness, just a nervous system doing its best, trying to keep you safe in the social world, trying to make sense of connection, trying, in its imperfect way, to help you belong. And there is nothing broken about that.